Today, September 10, is World Suicide Prevention Day, a day dedicated to raising awareness on the risk of suicides and challenges faced when trying to prevent death by suicide. According to the International Association for Prevention of Suicide, IASP, every year suicide is among the top 20 leading causes of deaths globally. It is responsible for over 800,000 deaths, which equates to one suicide every 40 seconds. And joining me live in the studio, I have Dr. Osasuna Emmanuel. He's a behavioral change expert. It's good to have you join us. That's quite a mouthful.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so from what we have just seen, at least one person commits suicide every 40 seconds. That's like a record. It's terrible. I wish we were doing something positive every 40 seconds and instead of losing human beings to suicide. But as someone who deals with people and behaviors, what do you think is the leading cause of suicide, especially in Nigeria?
All right, so there are numerous causes of suicide, but the leading cause of suicide that has been documented globally and also in Nigeria is depression. Depression stands tall in the midst of all the causes of suicide. However, that's not to rule out the relevance of other mental health challenges like anxiety disorders, substance abuse, bipolar disorders, and eating disorders. So we have depression leading anyway, and suicide has become a major issue, especially in the youthful age, because it's the second leading cause of death between the ages 15 to 29 years. It's the second leading cause of death, and Nigeria is also quite very special when it comes to suicide, because a lot of reports have ascertained the fact that Nigeria is the fifth most suicide-prone country in the world, and by crude suicide rate, meaning that it's possible that it's underestimated. We have about, as of 3 years ago, we have about 9.9 to 100,000 suicide rate, which represent like 10th highest in Africa.
And those are the ones you can document, the undocumented ones we don't know.
So I know we are underreporting in Nigeria. We are quite underreporting.
Let's talk about depression, which a lot of people do not necessarily pay as much attention to as they should, because you have also said it's the leading cause of suicide. Recently, I had a chat with a mental health expert, and she was talking about the fact that in this part of the world, we're quick to wish away things with the blood of Jesus, you know, and that's not to make fun of it, but instead of asking questions and looking out for one another, what are those things that we overlook in terms of depression, and why do we downplay it so much in this part of the world?
All right, just to take a lead from what you've mentioned, she's quite right. Religion has been a blessing to Africa, Nigeria especially, but it's also been, I dare say, a stumbling block to the progress of Nigeria, especially when certain cultural traits are infused into religion. And we have a situation in our country that I can call an epidemic situation, where people interpret religious doctrines based on their convenience, how it suits them, with inference from culture. So we have a situation where people are not taking responsibility for certain things. If it's bad, they ascribe it to the devil. If it's good, they ascribe it to God. And depression doesn't just happen. And let me just quickly correct something. A lot of Nigerians all are quick to say they're depressed. If you are sad, doesn't mean you're depressed. So
there has to be a line that's drawn.
Yeah, so sadness is not equal to depression.
So sadness is okay, because you can be sad and
in fact, sadness is an emotion, and it's natural, it's normal. It's okay when you're broke to be sad. It's okay when you're jilted to be sad. If you're not sad when you're broke, then something is wrong.
But can sadness lead to depression?
Yes, that's where we're going. So depression is a constellation of several symptoms, which we clinically diagnose when 5 of those symptoms are present, especially including the first 2 critical ones. And they're present on a near daily experience for at least 2 weeks, and already affecting the productive living or relationability of that person. So essentially, these first 2 that are critical are low mood or sadness. When sadness becomes prevalent on almost all through the day, on a near daily experience for at least 2 weeks, and it's affecting your daily productive living. That's one. Secondly, when you're beginning to lose interest in what you used to find interesting, what you used to find pleasant, you're losing interest in it. Those are the two critical signs. Then when three other symptoms and signs of depression are present, like loss of appetite or change in appetite, could be increase in appetite for food or reduced appetite for food or even for sex in married couples. It could be a change in energy levels, whether you're getting fatigued easily or excessive energy. Social withdrawal or apathy. You're beginning to isolate yourself or withdraw. It could be from social media. It could be from real-time friends, social networks, and associations of fellowship or religious activities. Then in men especially, it could manifest as physical symptoms. A lot of times when men go to the hospital to treat malaria, treat typhoid this week, next month, typhoid, malaria, repeatedly like that, it might not be those physical conditions, it might be depression, because depression can mimic those symptoms also. Sleep disorders or sleep dysfunction can also be another sign, whether you're struggling to initiate sleep, or you initiate sleep but you wake up too intermittently, or you wake up, you sleep well, you sleep for the normal duration, but you wake up feeling still fatigued, not refreshed. It could be a pointer. Then feelings of guilt, perpetual feelings of guilt, hopelessness, and regret can also be another sign of depression. Then we also have inability to concentrate or struggle with attention and focus can be a sign. And lastly, suicidal ideation. And that one is quite critical because, see, suicidal ideation in the European countries or America is slightly different from Africa and Nigeria because of our religious indoctrination. So over there, they can easily start planning. I want to kill myself, get married, get someone for sake of protection of our people and preventing water effect, what we call water effect. I will not describe it. But in Africa or in Nigeria especially, when you begin to hear someone discussing with you and he's saying that you just want to escape from everything, and go somewhere alone. Or there's a news about some buildings collapse, and the person is beginning to say, I don't even mind if this building collapse, what is in this world? Or somebody is beginning to say that I don't even mind, let Jesus come now, let rapture happens.
Quickly, because we have just 1 minute to wrap this up. How do we, in a few words, prevent or help people to be more conscious of these types of people around them, whether at their workplace, in their homes, because we're all very busy trying to make ends meet, and then we overlook some of these things. So quickly, in 1 minute, how do we pick up these pointers so that we can help one another?
I've mentioned those symptoms. Everybody should be aware of these symptoms. But it's quite a multifactorial responsibility from government to educational institutions to corporate organizations where people work. For example, from corporate organizations now, there's something called Employee Assistance Program that is highly pertinent that all organizations introduce it now to serve as a psychological support for their staff, especially in times of trauma or crisis. Then on the educational institution side, that's what we call socio-emotional learning that's been introduced to the educational curriculum of students so that you build their mental resilience right from teenage, right from the young age. Then from the government side, that we come to religious also, government side, we need to repeal the Mental Health Act. It's becoming for too long. You know, what we call lunacy act in Nigeria was promulgated in 1958, copied from British. The British people that we copied it from, they've abolished theirs in 1961. Nigeria is still using this same Lunacy Act. In 2003, in 2010, they tried to pass it into law, but it was truncated. It's high time we repeal that Lunacy Act. Then religious organizations
we don't have time. Dr. Osasuna Emmanuel, thank you very much for speaking with us. He's a behavioral expert, behavioral change expert. Thank you so much.